Unlike some people thought, Tony Stewart Racing is not closing down after 2025. Instead, they're going to team up with Rico Abreu. We'll get into all of the details today on the deal, what it means, how it went down, and answer the most burning questions. Let's go. It's Wednesday, September 17th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. New for 2025, DIRTRACKR is now on Patreon. You can find the show at patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. It's free to sign up there and just another way to keep up with everything dirt racing. If you sign up for the top tier premium membership there, you can get the daily show completely ad free. That means no platform ads and no ad content from me, just the dirt racing stuff. Members also get access to their own chat. There's extra content and other perks. If you want to join, hit up patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. You can also support the show on YouTube with a channel membership. That gets you some added perks for just a few bucks a month. Click the join button at youtube.com/DIRTRACKR for more information on how to sign up. So it's been an interesting afternoon in sprint car racing with Tony Stewart and Rico Abreu making the announcement that Rico will drive for TSR in 2026. I'm going to hit on all the major bullet points here, and then we'll dive in and talk about kind of a lot of some of the burning questions, what it all means, and we'll talk through the mechanics of how this announcement and this deal went down. So Rico will drive the Tony Stewart Racing number 24 in 2026. They're going to run high limit full time, and Rico is bringing his entire crew to TSR. So not the TSR 15 or 14, which sounds like was discussed, but the 24. Rico keeps his number. And that means crew chief Ricky Warner and crew guys Zach Middlebrooks and Brady Forbrook will join him. The team will operate out of the TSR shop in the Indianapolis area, and current TSR crew chief Todd Devnich will come off the road and serve as shop foreman. There is no mention of the other current TSR crew members in any of the press or stories that I saw. During an interview on today's Dale Jr. Download, Tony Stewart said, quote, "Rico gets to run the whole program," unquote. And that's not an insignificant thing. I think instead of looking at this like TSR has hired Rico, this very much feels like a merger of the two teams. Rico gets to maintain control of his sprint car program in future. Tony Stewart Racing continues to exist, and they can merge sponsors and resources to maximize their capability. It does mean a return to TSR for Ricky Warner, which I'm sure is a bit weird, but he's been such a big part of Rico's rise the last few years that you almost couldn't think about Rico going anywhere without Ricky. The stats before and after Ricky Warner are pretty staggering. The franchise situation with High Limit is a big question, but on the Dale Jr. episode, it was confirmed that TSR will lease the franchise from Rico Abreu Racing with the approval of High Limit. So Rico maintains ownership of that franchise, and that obviously means that the World of Outlaws lose a full-time team, and overall, the national scene loses a car and team. This is contraction no matter how you try and spin it. What was 2 cars is now 1. High Limit, they're going to be touting that they've gained Tony Stewart Racing, as they should. It's a big get on vibes and the attention it will bring. It's definitely a win for their side. And the World of Outlaws haters are going to latch onto this and talk about how it's another bad blow for that series. I think I've already seen social posts today about how the World Racing Group and the Outlaws are going to be dead in 2 years. And to some level, the haters are going to be correct about how this looks. It sucks for the Outlaws to lose TSR as a brand, but I think I'd feel differently here and maybe feel like it was a bigger loss for WRG if they were switching away with maybe Schott still in the seat and them at the top of their game. But this team hasn't been a serious title threat in a few years. And that team going away is going to open up an opportunity for another team to join the Outlaws and for others to rise up. There are rumblings of series flips in both directions, but I don't think we'll know for sure on a lot of that until WRG finalizes its point fund and platinum package for 2026 and begins to share that with some of the teams. Another point here is the future of the WRG relationship with Eldora Speedway, which I've already seen asked about. It's my understanding here that nothing is changing on that front and that the Kings Royal will remain World of Outlaws sanction. High Limit has their races at Eldora already, and it's probably a good business move for Tony and Eldora to work with both sides on events. Remember as well that the late model crown jewels at Eldora are dirt car sanctioned and heavily supported by WRG. I wouldn't expect any of that to change. And I know some will be wondering why Rico is deciding to do this now, given that he's built himself a strong team, is on the cusp of a real shot at winning this High Limit championship. He could certainly continue on as is and be just fine competing for wins and championships, But partnering with Tony will ease the burden, especially when it comes to resources. It won't just be Rico and his management to find sponsors and keep the team going up and down the road. TSR has existing marketing partners and infrastructure, and that will lighten the load for Rico Abreu Racing. TSR gets a younger driver at the top of his game, and Rico can breathe a little easier knowing that it's not all on him. I think that peace of mind is likely worth a lot. Dale Jr. did ask Rico what else he'll race next season, and the new TSR driver said just 410 sprint cars. We haven't seen Rico at the Chili Bowl, for example, since 2023, and it doesn't sound like that's going to change next year. Rico has also been spending quite a bit of his offseason running in Australia. I did want to point out a few interesting logistical things as well. I said before that Rico will move over to the TSR shop, which they said is only about 2 miles from his current shop space. I saw somewhere that Rico has been renting Joey Saldana's shop. As for equipment, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of blending there, but I wouldn't expect Rico to suddenly start driving J&Js with either the Shaver or Kistler power and running Fox shocks. Rico is a Schnee Lawson chassis driver. They use Speedway engines and FK shocks. And since Rico is quote-unquote running the program, I'd bet he'll stay with what he's comfortable with. Nowhere in any of the announcements was there any mention of Ford, and even though Ford Performance remains listed as a partner on the TSR website, I would be surprised if that program ever serviced again at TSR. What's interesting to note too about the Ford stuff, Ford Performance actually recently rebranded back to Ford Racing, and TSR didn't update that logo. Interesting, too, to hear Tony address the end of Donny's tenure with TSR. He told Dale Jr. that they probably should have moved on from Donny 2 years ago. And, quote, "We had always let Donny Schatz run our program in the past, and that kind of got us down a road we didn't really want to be on," unquote. Donny has certainly had some interesting quotes himself in the media about the deal going south, and Tony using his opportunity here to kind of do the same. I said it before, and I'll say it again here. After 18 seasons together and all of these success, you would have hoped for a better ending there. I do want to talk about how all of this went down in the timeline over the last few weeks and even today. I was told in recent weeks that this deal was happening, and I've heard through the grapevine that this may have all come together around the Knoxville Nationals or right after. And obviously, we know that Donny was shown the door that week after the Nationals. An email went out yesterday that this announcement was on for today, and to be transparent, that it was not an email that I was copied on or a part of because, just lowly YouTube podcast host, but I did hear about it from multiple sources. As much as people talk in the sport, nothing is ever as big a secret as I think some folks want it to be or think it is. It was funny to hear Dale Jr. and Tony talk about this quote-unquote secret to kick off the interview today. The plan was for things to get announced on the Dale Jr. download first, and then for all other media to be embargoed until 3:15 p.m. when TSR would put out their release. That's why you saw a bunch of media outlets dropping completed stories already with quotes from people right at that time. Those stories were written in advance. TSR did post a teaser earlier today, about the public announcement at 3:15, but Rico kind of blew it all open at noon with a post. It read, "Today we compete at the Berg. Should be a fun night. Racing in Ohio this weekend. 2 nights at Eldora. 4-Crown weekend is always special," unquote. And if you take the first character from each line, it's TSR24. The Dale Jr. download hit right around 2:45 p.m., but the whole thing was basically spoiled in the DJD podcast episode description, so it was all out there before anyone could have listened to the entire episode or even seen any of those 3:15 stories. So moving ahead, this will clean up a few silly season things. Obviously, TSR off the market now, so no Sheldon Haudenschild or Gio Scelzi or Spencer Baston, or insert your favorite driver here in this seat. As I talked about before, all signs pointing towards Sheldon in the KCP8 team, Gio in a second Clausen Marshall sort of Spire car. At this moment, my understanding is that second CMR deal for Gio is not the Stenhouse car. I've seen that kind of floated as well, that this is just going to be the Stenhouse car becoming a second CMR car. That is not the case from what I understand. They are on the hunt for a driver. Also, this obviously means no more Kerry Madsen in the TSR car beyond the 2025 season. As I've said all along, he was just going to be a stopgap driver until TSR got its plans ironed out. Rumblings point towards him back with Vermeer for 2026 and potentially a full-time World of Outlaws run. We still got about 6 weeks until World Finals, and I think between now and then, most of these open situations will get buttoned up. In the meantime, there is racing tonight. This high-limit championship battle does head to Lawrenceburg. Rico leads the RSR 87 by 19 points and the KKR 49 by 25. Rico also in front of Brad Sweet by 25 for the Drivers' Championship. We'll see who comes out of tonight with that points lead. If you're going to be there, Rico already selling TSR Rico shirts in his merch trailer. Kyle Larson, the defending Lawrenceburg winner, he won't be in attendance tonight. If you can't get there, it will be live over on Flow. We'll call it good right there for today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.